As most of us know, the trailer to the Wilds expansion, Ascendance, dropped the other night. I did in fact watch it live and recorded a reaction, but it's not very interesting and I'm not going to publish it. What I will do, however, is talk about all the information we've just been shown, because there's quite a lot of it and I have many thoughts. This is going to be a bit of an unscripted video. First of all, the trailer. The visible timeskip is very crazy to me. A lot of other Monster Hunter games have had them going into the expansion, like World to Iceborne was 3 years, but it's never been obvious. If you beat Xeno'jiiva in World and then start Iceborne, it feels like it could have been 2 weeks. Here, you can very much tell that several years have passed. Also, Nata, not only being an adult, but seemingly having some playable sections. I think the timeskip was something a lot of us speculated on because of Nata. This would allow him to grow up and maybe even fight alongside us, which might be what's happening. Let's talk about the new map, later revealed to be called the Skybound Eyrie. It very much evokes the Heaven's Mount from Monster Hunter 4, mountains and platforms in the sky that have all been torn up. Definitely an interesting story behind this place, seeing as we have so many different Wyveria mechanisms. We can see bits of what look like the Wind's Grasp and the Scarlet Forest's artificial trees. The whole place is suspended by anti-gravity, like with the Frost Winds, which makes one wonder how the Fire Spring will come into play. I also wonder how big the area is going to be. The Hoarfrost Reach and Citadel were way bigger than maps in the base game. How much of Wyveria skies will this locale cover? Could it expand? Also, it's been pointed out that this place seems to already exist, as in, the spires were already seen within the city of Wyveria, but now they're up in the sky, which means this could be a Tears of the Kingdom situation, and something happens to lift them all up. I wonder what it could be. The dialogue seems to imply that maybe the spires were raised, and that seemed to reveal other locations somehow hidden within the sky. It's really curious. To be honest, I am glad that we're largely still in the Forbidden Lands. I've said this a fair few times in prior videos, but it's the most interesting setting we've ever had in Monster Hunter, and there's still so many mysteries behind it all. Even this trailer adds more. Also, Guardians are up here. I have more to say about that later, but it is nice to see them fighting in a bright sunny environment. I also think this indicates that they'll still be very important for the expansion, and we'll probably get a few new ones, which could be exciting. The boost bracer seems very cool to use. In general, I found expansion mechanics, in terms of weapons, to be hit or miss. I infamously wasn't too hot on the Clutch Claw, and while I lean more positive on the switch skill swap, it's not something I really use. This does look like a decent expansion to our moveset, but I can't help but wonder how it will be triggered, because when you think about all the buttons we have on controllers, Wild is already using them all. I assume it will be tied to a meter of some kind at least. There's concerns that it could make the hunters too strong, but to be honest, I believe master rank monsters will bring up the heat anyway. Speaking of monsters, this new guy, they never gave him a name, but he's some kind of bird wyvern that inflates his wings like balloons and then expels the air to fly like a plane. He also has pack mechanics. It seems to be more like the Great Izuchian Rise, where they'll hang around and then coordinate attacks with him, very much unlike the Doshaguma and Kutku packs that exist in Wilds. I said this in my pack monsters video, but the issue with those monsters was that there was no rhyme, reason or method to the madness of those fights. They kind of all attack you at once, and to be good, they would need some kind of strategy. Obviously, this expansion has been in the works for years, I would guess since 2024. It would be pretty stupid to assume that they were responding to my video earlier this year, but I'm very happy that they seem to understand the problems with the packs in Wilds and are designing new ones to account for that. Also, Elder Dragons are in. Gogmazios was obviously a very funny prelude to this, but yeah, the expansion is going to be an invasion of some kind, beginning with Kushala Daora. I've seen a lot of people upset at his return, and to be honest, I get it, but it's inevitable. Elder Dragon Inclemencies was the #1 thing we all predicted for the expansion, and in that scenario you can't not add Kushala Daora. I would want this version to be a combination of his Rise and World self, with both the heavy aggression and new attacks, but also the powerful wind barrier. As long as he has his old poison weakness that was missing in World, things will be fine, I think. Also, Lao Shanlung is here. I never could have predicted that, and I'm so curious to see what a modern siege will look like. When this expansion releases, it will have been 9 years since Zora Magdaros. How will things be different, I wonder? Then there's Ascendance, the title. Obviously to ascend means to go up, with this new locale in the sky, but it also means a lot of other things, to raise your own status, rank, to evolve. Lots of fun implications there, especially with the logo being an obvious combination of the Wilds logo and that of Wyveria's, which people noticed was different. Many people are reacting to the colours blue and red. They're saying it could be Zeno and Safi or Old Fatalis. I'm going to be real, it's probably a clue of the true final boss of the game, and less of a reference to something in the past. Rise's logo had Nawa and Ibushi, 4's logo had Gore and Shigaru Magala, things like that. It will probably be something new. In any case, I would say it probably has something to do with the Guardians still being relevant, now outside of Iberia, and seemingly glowing red when near Kushala Theora, which would imply that they're reacting like this because of the presence of an Elder Dragon. I don't know what that means, but if I had to guess, it's the Dragon War. That's what Viveria and Zoshia was all about. I mean, again, Gogmazios was a prelude to the arrival of Elders in the expansion, and he's literally called the Spectre of War. We don't know why they built Zoshia still. We don't know what caused Zoshia to go haywire either. We know with Gogmazios that Wyveria was building weapons that were good at fighting Elder Dragons. Something is obviously up there. The thing is, I don't know if the red glow is something that should be happening. We've seen Zoshia glow like that, and it wasn't a good thing for Wyveria. In fact, this might even give us a clue as to why he went haywire. Because if the Guardians are reacting like this because of an Elder Dragon, maybe something brought that out in Zoh. I'd also wonder why the Guardian Doshagamers are in the plains to begin with. My guess was Viveria had pods scattered around that were dormant until detecting an Elder, but it's hard to say until we learn more. Either way, that red glow is important, and ultimately is the key to why the logo is coloured like that. Also, can I just say, isn't it cool that we can just speculate about the story like this? I can't remember any other Monster Hunter game having an expansion where we can just think what's going to be up with the story, what mysteries will it answer about the base setting like this. Because I feel like it's usually always been, oh, will this monster show up? What kind of monsters will we get? But here, there's like real questions about the story and the setting and the world. That's really cool that Wilds has done that, a real testament to its story. Anyway, that's the trailer done. They also released some more information in a 10-minute interview. 3 minutes of that with the trailer, so it's more like 7 minutes. New director. I really thought Yoshitake Suzuki would return for this after Sunbreak, which was really good and well received, but I guess he's busy with something else? The new man, Mr. Takuro Hiroka, has worked on several prior games, namely Possible Third, 3 Ultimates, Generations and Iceborne. He was also the director of Exoprimal, a game that wrapped up in the middle of 2024. In other words, that's probably when Ascendance entered development, which means that depending on when it releases in 2027, that's almost a 3-year development time, which is a lot, more than any other expansion for Monster Hunter. It's hard to judge how a new director might handle things. I mean, at this point, we have fairly strong ideas of what Yuya Tokuda or Yasunori Ishinose prioritize in their Monster Hunter games. But Hiroka has had a history with the series, and I think it's cool that Capcom are letting someone new handle the expansion. Suzuki did great work on Sunbreak, and he was new, so I'm not really concerned here or anything. They confirmed that the expansion will begin after the high-rank Archveld Urgent. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because ultimately it means Gogmazios' appearance and the return of Zoshia may not factor into the story much, even though the story does take place after all of that. Because the story will have to make sense for someone who hasn't fought high-rank Zoh or know he came back. Same with Gogmazios. Granted, I think making people hit HR 100 for Gogmazios to reach the expansion would have been unreasonable, but Zoshia is only 10 ranks ahead of Archveld, and ends on a slightly disconcerting note, story-wise, which I think would be perfect to continue into an expansion that will also get into the mysteries of Wyveria. The 2027 release year is interesting. Again, that's almost a 3-year development time. That's a lot longer than Iceborne or Sunbreak. I think this expansion will very much be ambitious. I'm so curious to see how it turns out. Finally, the Switch 2 version. I called it. Multiple times. Even before those data mines came out. People got mad at me for it. They said I was being foolish, moronic, unreasonable, delusional. But I was right. Never doubt me again. But I was right. I knew it. I knew it was going to happen. And I would argue that it was always obviously going to happen. The thing with the Switch 2 doubt is that Wilds runs badly on PCs. So people were like, oh, well, if it runs badly on my 4090, how's it going to run on this little tablet? But it was always stable, albeit a little bit blurry on consoles. And optimizing for consoles is much less of a Herculean task than it is for PCs. Moreover, even on PCs, Wilds doesn't have much of an issue running at 30 FPS or hitting 60 FPS. The issue was that it was a broken port that obviously was not really functioning properly, with stutters everywhere that the January and February patches of this year ironed out. A fair few of the complaints are from people who want to run this at 4K 120, which is unrealistic for a current gen AAA game that's obviously very ambitious. I argued this in a few different videos, and what it all boils down to is that it's not too big of a challenge to get a handheld version running at 1080p 30fps. I do get why people had doubts, but after current gen ambitious games started regularly dropping on the Switch 2, it became very hard to argue why Wilds couldn't happen. Fundamentally, it's because a lot of people never understood why Wilds ran so badly, or what makes the Switch 2 so different from the original system. Either way, it's all settled now. The only remaining question is, when does the Switch 2 version release and how do they handle the expansion? Mid-2025 was when I was sure that they would do a Wild Switch 2 port, and my guess was that they would release it late 2026 and then the expansion in 2027. The second part is now confirmed, but not the first. They will do either what I speculated or just release the game and expansions together like how 4 Ultimate was handled all those years ago. I kind of want that, to be honest, but yeah. Those are my impressions from what we have seen of Monster Hunter Wilds Ascension. Ascendance. Maybe it should have been called Ascension. I've been both very positive and critical of the base game across many different videos, but I do have faith in both the expansion being good, and I am really excited for it. On my Patreon, I published an exclusive video talking about who I thought would return for the expansion. It was written and published before the reveal of Ascendance, but I still stand by everything that's there. I will share one of the predictions with you though, because I'm really excited for it. Dalamada. It's gonna happen, right? I thought there was a chance that they would deem it too hard, but we're literally going up in the sky in the expansion, and he's the boss of Monster Hunter 4, the final boss. It's going to happen. Probably in an update. I'm just unbelievably excited for this. But yeah, if you donate to the Patreon, you can see the full list, several other exclusive videos, and get future monthly exclusives. That's all. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.